A lot of people hated the Alien prequels. A friend I went to film school with said Alien Covenant was so bad, he felt it was like a war crime. For myself, even though I grew up watching Alien films, especially James Cameron's Aliens, I thought the prequels were pretty good. And I particularly liked how they hid philosophical investigations in the images. Let me take you through the opening scene. Like in Prometheus, the prologue to Alien Covenant is a cipher, which sets the viewer up for understanding the rest of the film. Like a lot of great cinema, much of this understanding seeps into your subconscious through the subtext, rather than being stated directly. The first thing we see is an open eye as David, a synthetic human, is brought to life or turned on for the first time. Unlike us, David is born with an abundance of knowledge. He instantly recognizes works of art and culture that you or I would have to research. He recognizes the chair he sits on. He recognizes the piano, and then he looks to a painting of a nativity scene, a moment in history in which a god was born on Earth to human parents. There are parallels here. David has been created by humans, but he is superior in many ways. This foreshadows the development of his god complex. The White Room is reminiscent of 2001: A Space Odyssey. The overt sterility of this room also evokes the obsessive cleanliness of billionaire shut-ins like Howard Hughes. It's hard to imagine a single dust microbe in there, but safely contained behind glass is a vast and rugged landscape of glorious nature.
The trees here are in misery and the birds are in misery. I don't think they sing, they just screech in pain. Taking a close look at what's around us, there is some sort of a harmony. It is the harmony of overwhelming and collective murder. But when I say this all full of admiration for the jungle. It is not that I hate it, I love it. I love it very much, but I love it against my better judgment.
This separation between humans and nature is a theme of the scene and the rest of the film. Humans are animals, but our intelligence separates us from the animal kingdom. Our abilities to communicate abstract concepts and develop technology is not shared by any other animals. Inside this room is Michelangelo's statue of David. This is the most important detail because the statue doesn't fit in the room. The White Room represents human civilization and culture, and the White Room seems to have been built around Michelangelo's David. There would be no other way to get it in there, as anyone who's ever tried to carry a sofa up some stairs would know. Peter Weyland, as a trillionaire, could have built a room large enough to fit the statue, but he didn't. He deliberately built the room too small. This matters. This David of the statue is the biblical hero who fought and defeated the giant Goliath. This is a common theme in many religions, a human who overthrows the gods. We see this in Norse, Greek, and Roman mythologies, and even Christianity, though due to the monotheism of the Abrahamic religions, this theme is coded in the story of David and Goliath. The David depicted in the statue is the perfect human, the paragon of humanity, who will go on to become the king of all God's chosen people and the great ancestor of Jesus. The statue's feet extend into the ground because of his heritage. Men started as lowly beasts in the dirt and pulled themselves up to their current status of culture and refinement, separate from the natural world, which we can see on the other side of the glass. But his head extends through the roof. His ambition, his thoughts are boundless and can never be satisfied or contained, even in this perfect world with a stunning view of nature, priceless art, an almost priceless Steinway grand piano, and antique furniture. But it's so sterile, you wonder if anyone actually lives there, or is it just a training ground for Davids? The dining hall in Alien has been compared to a womb because it's close, bright, and intimate, in contrast to the dark, industrial spaces in the rest of the Nostromo. And it's in this dining hall that the alien is born. The White Room in Alien Covenant is also like a birthing chamber, a perfect place full of culture. David arrives in this world already knowing everything, not through experience but by design. This is oddly reminiscent of an idea Plato had called anamnesis. He said that people don't learn things. They already know everything from previous lives, and what we mistake for learning is just remembering things from those lives. Plato was also skeptical about democracy. He felt that when you allow important decisions to be made by people who don't even attempt to understand the issues, you get bad decisions being made. He thought that we should be ruled by philosopher kings, like Marcus Aurelius, who know exactly what the best thing is to do, and everyone beneath them just has to do what they say. The problem with that idea is that it holds the seed of fascism and despotism. Many megalomaniacs are convinced that they alone have the answers and can solve all the problems. But the purity and sterility of the room, which has been carefully curated to create a perfect being, a Platonic philosopher king, already feels corrupted by something very human, the messiness of ego and interpersonal power dynamics. The theme of gods and their creations is brought up again by David playing music on the piano, which Weyland identifies as entry of the gods into Valhalla. This is Weyland's desire. He wants to transcend humanity, become a god, and take his place in Valhalla. And David is a tool he thinks will help him achieve this. But he says the piece sounds uninspiring without the full orchestra. In other words, David has already failed. He cannot help Weyland become a god. And this points to something philosophers have argued about for millennia. A lot of philosophers view the promise of an afterlife as a metaphor, that instead of attempting to literally enter heaven, we should make heaven on earth and achieve something better than immortality by improving the world for future generations. Weyland has attempted to hack this process, to jump to the finish line by creating a superhuman servant. But already, in the first 2 minutes of the experiment, this has failed, because there is no shortcut to this kind of profound spiritual awakening, which requires the complete removal of ego. When David questions Weyland about who created Weyland, we can see the seeds of megalomania growing in David's mind. He feels he has already surpassed his creator, whereas Weyland seeks his creator in the hopes of evading death. Weyland, uncomfortable with the direction of this conversation, tells David to bring the tea that's right next to him. So David has to stand up, walk across the room, and pour the tea for him. This is Weyland's way of assuring David of his place, that despite his superiority, he is just a servant for his creator. The great thing about this opening scene is it primes the viewer for the themes in the rest of the film. The Covenant is carrying thousands of human embryos. The embryos are completely innocent and defenseless. Their only hope is the protection of a benevolent guardian. That role falls to Walter, who is physically identical to David, but his moral opposite. Good sci-fi holds a funhouse mirror up to the world and shows you a caricature of the present, and we can see how the powerful people in our time have used their monopolies of technology to further their egomaniacal and dangerous agendas, because they think of themselves as gods destined for Valhalla, but they've been forced to temporarily slum it with us mortals and our petty laws. Some of them openly admit that they plan to exterminate billions of people, but they dress this desire up in academic-sounding terms like accelerationism. 2012, when Prometheus came out, was a simpler, more innocent time. Our concerns were academic, like, what makes a human? Who are we? Where did we come from? But by 2017, when Alien Covenant came out, our concerns were, we're all going to die. There are psychopaths steering the ship. Now, in 2026, we can see a lot of this speculative sci-fi has come to pass. By the end of the film, David, a deranged psychopath, has seized control of the Covenant. with decades ahead of him to carry out his dark designs on the passengers, creating, through his sadistic experiments, the alien creatures we already know.
How about some music, Mother?
Selection.
Richard Wagner, Das Rheingold, Act 2. The entry of the gods into Valhalla.
Yes, David, as you wish.
Thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you found this interesting, please consider liking and subscribing.